It seems like a lot of people who play this game aren't really into working hard for things or figuring things out by trial and error or problem solving. They kind of want to know everything before they play the game. They don't want to get anything wrong. They don't like to fail, which I think runs against the entire premise of the game in the first place. What really drew me to this game was the way Dean Hall talked about it and the moments that people were capturing on video. And that's what got me started playing this around 2012, playing in the mod that is. And ever since then I've been anticipating the time when survival becomes a lot harder, especially seeing that this is a survival simulator first and foremost. The zombies were a kind of tacked on afterthought that Dean added to his open world survival sim. A survival simulator which was supposed to be uncompromising, did not mollycoddle the players, didn't give them any help or convenience, chucked all those old gaming conventions out the window where you're supposed to give the players tutorials, ease them into things, give them a soft landing, give them a HUD so they can see where other players are and where their friends are, where the enemies are, add a score, make sure there's a really shallow learning curve, give them clues and hints. In fact, do everything you can to prevent them from thinking for themselves at all. Don't stress them out, don't tax their brains. And because that was the sort of conventional wisdom, when this game came out and people played it, it blew people's minds. And no one ever thought it would work. It wasn't supposed to work, it was against the rules. Anyway, because of that, my biggest issue has actually been that it's never been hard to survive. And I've always been optimistic that this will change with balancing, and that's what the developers intend to do as far as I understand. And I noticed they were making a lot of changes towards that end, expanding the survival mechanics a lot. They seem to be making things more complicated, perhaps more difficult. I really wanted to get back into the game, especially after dying horribly in Charlie's Survivor games that was on not long ago. You can see what happened there in my last video. I actually enjoyed that quite a lot, and I thought it would be good to get in there by myself and just see how I went. There were obviously a lot of new things to learn, and I relished that. One of the biggest things I noticed straight away when I started playing was the difference in the zombies. They are so much better. They're a million times better. They're still kind of fucked up. They teleport towards you, just appear behind your back and stuff, but the foundation is there. It's really good. I'd found a little pistol which I could chamber one bullet at a time, try to sneak into town and headshot a few zombies to get in there. But I was just getting wrecked over and over again, getting hurt a lot, always bleeding, running away. I'd found a trumpet which shoots 22 rounds. Couldn't find any bullets for it for a long time. I picked up these bullets, and this is the first time I ever fired a trumpet. But I stopped recording not long after this point because I didn't feel like anything interesting was really happening. I was just relearning the mechanics of the game, and it probably wasn't going to make a very interesting video. I ended up, as you can see in my inventory here, I had some seeds. I figured out how to plant stuff and grow food. Started growing my own food. I was getting pretty healthy, despite being beaten up by zombies quite a lot and having to take them out with my hoe. I even found a tent, put lots of gear in there, put a couple of weapons in there. I'd done this test with the tent and it seemed like persistency was working, so I was willing to put my trust in the tent. And then I log out, and the next time I come back in, everything's gone. All the food in the tent, a lot of the gear, the tent was full. No problem, I went and looked in the nearby town which had a police station, and it was empty. In fact, the whole town was empty, and I couldn't really find any food. I found nothing. I had no idea that they had just introduced the new loot system. I started to worry about actually starving, and that's when I began to record because I felt things were getting a bit more interesting. I had no idea there was an issue with the loot system. I just knew that it wasn't so easy anymore. Meanwhile, my character is losing colour. I decide I'm going to move on. Maybe there's going to be a lot more loot up in these new northern areas and I'll be alright. I come across this field with some cows in it. The first time I've seen cows. They all run away from me except this one, probably glitched out cow. I just walk up and slaughter it and take all the meat, so I feel like I'm not going to have any issues from now on. By the way, I really like how the cows behave. They'll run away from you for a bit, then stop and look. They actually do that in real life. It made me chuckle. Eventually I chopped some wood, messed around with the fireplace for ages until I figured out how it worked. Then I confidently threw my meat into the fire and ruined it. Then I was back to square one as far as food goes, and I realised that I could probably have used some kind of cooking utensils. Now remember, I didn't look this up intentionally. I didn't want to know exactly how it worked. I wanted to figure it out myself. It's exciting to me to take that gamble and face the consequences if I fuck it up. And that's why I don't just alt-tab and Google stuff. But I soldiered on, and every now and then I'd find an article of clothing which was very handy because zombies kept ruining my shit. Half the time I was running around in ruined clothes. I was getting wrecked a lot, but damn, it's satisfying to headshot a zombie. And it all feels pretty fair. They're not hitting me through the walls. They see me because I do something stupid like walk in front of them or don't notice the second one standing behind the tree when I was focused on the first one. I found a packet of seeds. It had 3 seeds in it. I set about farming, and I accidentally destroyed 2 of the plants while I was trying to figure out how to make them grow faster. And I found that I wasn't able to get seeds out of the new plants that had grown. So that was another failed food experiment. I couldn't be a carnivore or a vegetarian. And again, I'm getting very concerned about starving. And I did mention I'm getting smashed by zombies the entire time, didn't I? I'm running all over the map looking for any food, anything. Finding a can of beans in a house is just manna from heaven. I'm running all over the map. Eventually I find a single pumpkin seed, which I'm over the moon about. I've been playing solo for a few days now, and I'm very near death. A big fat pumpkin will be awesome. I know how to grow food now. I make the plot, prepare the cell, apply lime fertilizer, plant the seed, then water it, and then all I have to do is wait. And the server restarts. I wander back across the map, repairing my broken limbs and finding skerricks of food. And I fire my last .22 round. I no longer have any ammunition left. Not long after killing this zombie, I log out, and I find out via some Twitter posts from Brian Hicks that the loot was never meant to be that scarce. I was a little bit disappointed by that. I was even more disappointed when I found out that the player count for the game had been dropping since this new loot economy had started. I was hoping that this is how the game was going to stay. And it's actually not the most difficult situation I've been in the game. Over a year ago I started a little series where I only allowed myself to take loot from other players. I wasn't allowed to pick it up off the ground. Everything either had to be begged for or stolen. And what I found while I was making that was that when I saw other players, instead of seeing them as a threat, I saw them as a kind of saviour, and I would run up to them, run up to anyone and start begging. I also had to be really careful about the distances I travelled and where I chose to go, because spending too much time running and moving around meant that I would be starving and getting thirsty. And I found that I was starting to make similar decisions when I was playing during this loot update. If you want to check that out, it's called Beggars and Thieves. I only made 3 episodes for that. Back to my current situation. It turned out that they had rolled back the loot system to the old one. That's when I knew I'd no longer have any kind of hard time surviving. And yeah, next time I logged in, I found easily enough food to get me by, but it was still a bit tricky getting back to healthy status. I kept searching town to town, every nook and cranny of every house. Then I came across this. Obviously there's some kind of glitch causing all the loot in the server to spawn in one place. There were about 3 little buildings next to each other, and they were just packed item on top of item. There was more food than I can eat and carry, and I thought, fuck it, I've been through the famine, now I'm in the time of plenty, I'm going to gorge myself. I healed up, eventually went to the airfield, lit it up a bit more, picked up an SKS and plenty of ammo. Then I met up with a couple of friends who I haven't played with for a long time, and I asked them how they felt about the recent loot economy problem. It took them by surprise also, and I found his answer really interesting. He said they just had to learn how to survive. They managed to play quite a bit and scrape through the famine, so to speak. So it was a lot of fun while it lasted. Thank you for watching. I'll end it there. And I just want to say thanks for the lovely comments in the last video I made. Cheers.